Welcome to Lumion video tutorial number 4. In this tutorial, we'll go through a few options to create context around your design. OpenStreetMap can be used to add streets and buildings in the area of the house or building that you designed. Go to the Landscape tab, click on the OpenStreetMap button, click on Off. To select the area of interest around your design, click on this button. Now you can move around. Click somewhere on the map. Zoom out. Click somewhere else. Zoom in. Or search for the area. To find the place of interest, for example, Manhattan, set the range, click on Start Download. Now you're probably inside of a building, so we need to scroll out. To get faster, we can also use the S and the Shift space to move backwards for really fast. All these buildings and streets were obtained from the OpenStreetMap database, which is an open source project where people can add their own content. Some areas have buildings in 3 dimensions, while some others only have the outline of the building, and you can set a default height. New York is particularly popular, so most of the buildings here have their correct height. Now say, for example, we would like to change this building for your new design. Click on Edit. Click on the Hide Building toggle. Click on the building. If you also have 3D models, handmade models with textures of the building around it, you can hide these as well and place them later on manually. Click on OK, and our building has disappeared. To quickly move to this position, you can double-click the right mouse button, and you immediately move to that position. Now you can work with Lumion in the normal way and place your building here with the import function or live sync. You can add some appearances, switch off certain areas and roads, you can set the minimum height of the buildings that did not have a height specified for them. For example, if you know that all the buildings in New York have at least 10-meter height. Here's an example of a project where OpenStreetMap was used to generate some context around the house. And here's another example. Now, another way to create context around your design is to use a drone and photogrammetry software. It's quite feasible nowadays to create a complete 3D model and texture from photos created by a drone and photogrammetry software. We'll show you an example. To do that, start an empty project. Now, the photogrammetry software is able to create a 3D model in FBX format and a corresponding texture, in my case, 8K by 8K pixels. And we can import that just like we import any other object. So we click on the Import button, click on the file, say OK. Now wait a few seconds. Click once to place it. Click on Select, zoom out, and here's the area of the beach that we created automatically using photogrammetry software. For large areas, there's a quick way of moving to another part of it instead of flying with the W key. With the Shift key, it goes a bit faster. Shift and the space key goes even more fast, but you can also double right-click, and you zap to that particular point straight away. So we go up. Now we double-click over here, and we zap to that point. Go up again, and it looks like part of our model is submerged, and what is now a green field should be an ocean. To turn that into an ocean, go to the landscape, go to ocean, click on off. Now there's the ocean. Go back to objects, click on move up. Now we can shift the whole object up to the correct height. Move over here. Now we can turn the texture into Lumion material. Go to Materials, click on it, click on Standard. Now the 8K by 8K texture is imported into Lumion. Set glossiness to 0. Reflectivity slightly lower. We can also create the normal map automatically, which adds some bumpiness to it. If this is not the correct way, we can turn it around, flip the normal map direction, wait again, this looks better. We can add some weathering to it. Now we have a piece of the beach that's quite realistic, at least from a distance. Now we can place our house design on it. Go to Place. Make sure the Imports category is selected. Click on the house that we created before and imported. Now we can place the house on the beach. Click the R key to rotate it correctly. It's probably more like this. Click. Click on Select. Click on Move. And we can position it closer to the ramp over here, wherever it's supposed to be located. Here's another project where the environment was completely created from images from a drone. And here's another project where part of a city was created from drone images from photogrammetry software. What you can see here is that the trees created from photogrammetry are not always very nice looking, so you can cut them out and replace them with Lumion trees. There's another way to create context around your design, and that's by painting mountains and lakes using the tools that are included with Lumion. You can find these under the Landscape tab. If you go to Height, you can see some buttons here to raise or lower the terrain or flatten it. Create some jitter. So let's say this house is positioned in the mountains, and there are some mountains behind the house. Zoom out. This is a painting brush for mountains. You can push it and left-click with the mouse, and the mountain will be created. If they're really big, the brush size needs to be increased. Maybe the brush speed needs to be increased, so it goes a little bit faster. So you can see how you can create complete mountains by just clicking the mouse and the Raise Mountain button. This house was designed to be built against a mountain hill, so maybe the hill can go a little bit closer to the house. If you've overdone it, you can always go down again. Looking from the ground level, Very quickly, you can at least hide the horizon. But if you know exactly where the mountains need to be, you can paint them this way. If you know there's a lake over here, you can paint the lake as well by lowering the terrain. Click on the lower one. Increase the brush size. You can create an empty hole. Now we need to create a water surface. Clicking on Water, Place, click in the scene. You see 4 corners of the water surface that you can stretch to go over the whole hole that we created. This grass looks very flat. There's a way to make it 3D grass. Go to Landscape, Grass, click on On/Off, and now you can see the grass has turned into 3D grass. Not only that, but we can change some parameters like the size, height, wildness. We can even add some irregularities to it. For example, we can plant some flowers, change the size, randomize the size. Same with other types, maybe rocks. Leaves. Other flowers. So very quickly we can create a large area which doesn't look bland and uniform. It has some natural beauty to it. Not only can we create some irregularities in the grass, but we can actually paint different materials on it as well. Like this is the grass. You can change it to another type. For example, another color grass. We can paint another material like a path, which goes, for example, from the house to the lake. We can paint some beach area, sand. There's a lot of materials to choose from. You can change them later on. If all you really care about is having some distant mountains in the background of your project, then you can use one of the templates. Instead of using the plain one, for example, use this one, Mountain Range. All the mountains are created for you. You just have to place your house in the center and you can look at it from different angles. Let's place the house in one of the Lumion demo scenes, Via Gabriela, in this field. Select Imports, select Place, select Via Gabriela, and click anywhere in the field. Go to Select Mode, zoom out a little, press the O key, and circle around the house. What you see here is that this house is a nice terrace around it in a swimming pool, which seems to be completely overgrown with grass. What can we do about that? Go to the landscape, and here you see some tools to raise or lower the terrain. Go to Lower, set the brush size to the smallest, brush speed to the lowest. We can push down the terrain below this terrace. Of course, watch out with the edges that it doesn't go too low. For the swimming pool, we can speed it up a little bit. If we look under the house, there's a whole big hole appearing. But it doesn't matter because it's hidden anyway. what if we wanted to have this surface look exactly like the landscape with the grass? We go to Materials, click on it, go to Material Library, Custom, Landscape. Any surface that we turn into a landscape will have exactly the same settings as the landscape of the whole project. For example, if we change the landscape or turn into the 3D grass off, it will also be turned off over here. Let's see if we can change the grass size, and everything that we do will happen also on the surface that has the landscape material. Let's look at how the new 3D grass of Lumion is different from the landscape grass that we had before. Go back to Materials, select the surface, go to Nature, 3D grass, Wild grass. Double-click on it, and you see a lot more sliders that influence the grass appearance than what you have with the grass that's part of the Lumion terrain. The new 3D grass also takes a lot more processing, so you cannot use it for really large surfaces, but that's not needed because in the far distance, you usually don't see the difference anyway. It's also possible to import your own terrain file or height map. To do that, go to Landscape, click on the Height button. Here you can load your terrain map. There are some restrictions around these terrain files. In this case, it is a terrain file from Norway, the Norwegian coast. So what's green here is in reality sea. We can go to Ocean, enable the ocean, set the height, maybe a little higher, and now we have a piece of the coast of Norway in Lumion. There's another way of quickly creating context around your design, and that's to take one of the example scenes which are included with Lumion. For example, the Farnsworth house. To do this, select here the Import button, click the Select button, move to a high position. Click on the house to select it. Click on Delete, click on the red dot. We still see the furniture here, so we click on the Furniture tab. And with the Control key pressed, you can drag a box, a selection box around all this furniture, and again click on one of the dots to delete them. There are still some items left, which apparently are from another category. We can select all categories. Now you can see all kinds of items that have been added from different categories, like the leaves. You might as well delete those as well. But we don't want to delete the trees, so we just press Control again. Draw a selection box. Make sure you don't hit any trees. Click on the red dot, and now we have a nice empty space where you can add your own design. If you already made another scene with your house, like we saw on the previous tutorial, it should be available under Imports. Click on Imports, click on Place, and here your house should be present. Click on it, the house gets loaded. It could take a couple of seconds. And we can position it here in the scene. It is a lot bigger than the Farnsworth house, so it may not fit. And you have to move some trees around. Click on Select, reposition it, to quickly go down, you can double-click with the right mouse button, and you zap to that point. go to the eye level. As you can see, very quickly we have a nice environment for this particular house. This concludes Lumion 9 Tutorial 4, where we looked at various ways of creating context around our design.